So I will start now. I am Jenny. I am currently a senior front developer. So I'll start talking about the navigation and everything. Uh, so with today's topic, our main focus is the Angular router. It's the package that allows us to do the Angular routing. So this Angular router comes with Angular. When you install Angular, it's already built in. Your Angular application will revolve around this router a lot. It's one of the key aspects to managing your app complexity. That means how your components are dependent on each other and how they communicate with each other. The built-in the Angular router also allows you to do transition animation if you are into that. And a big part of optimizing your Angular performance is around the Angular router because it allows you to lazy load your modules. That means not loading your whole app at once and only loading what you need until you need it at a later time. So how does the Angular router works in the big picture is that when you type in the path that you want to navigate to into your browser, Angular will detect this URL and read it and try to match it to your configuration. So whether it's to redirect your user or cut the path or render component, if it matches to a config that is to activate the component, it will activate the component. So some of the terms that is referring to the URL that Angular uses, which you know, the most important one is path, query, and fragment. For today's talk, we'll mainly focus on the path, but it's good to know what you're referring to. So each route can be configured in the router module to determine some behavior, such as what component to be loaded and the path that matches it, and then whether to guard the route, whether the route is protected or not, and then whether to redirect the user. So all these are defined in each route in the router module. So if you are scaffolding an app and you have the idea to set up the route at an earlier time, you can do it with the -- routing flag. So with the routing flag, it will generate the required code for your routing needs. So with the routing flag, it will generate a new file called approuting.module.ts, and in there, there's a routes array that is empty that you will need to fill it up with the routes that you want. And then basically it imports the router module and export it as a module. And it will import this app routing module into the app module. And then that's how you link up the route dependency. So in the routes, this is how some examples on how you configure the routes. There's 3 types of route here. 2 that defines the component to render when it matches the path. And then, for example, the first component path will render the first component. So if you type in your browser like home.com/first component, it will render the first component. And then there's the wildcard to a 404 page. When you do the * string, that's the wildcard. That means it matches anything that doesn't matches other routes. And then it will run in this configuration, it will bring the user to a page.found component. And then there's the last one, which is redirect a root path into your first component path. So if you do .com without slash anything, it will redirect to slash first component. The ordering of these routes is important. So it will start matching from top to bottom, from the first route to the last route. If you have a route that clashes with any other route, it will answer to the first one. So you need to pay attention to that. So I will do some demo now on how to configure the route. All right. You guys can see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
So for the purpose of this tutorial, I will do the skip test flag, so it doesn't generate the test files.
While we are waiting, Jenny, we have one question from Ching, and she's asking whether can two paths be routed to the same component?
Yeah, you can do that. All right. So instead of the first component, you just name it to second component, for example. So first component path will render first component, second component can also render the first component. So you just pass in the first component here.
All right, thanks for answering. Yeah.
So this is the generated app routing module. It imports the router module and display it as app routing module. Oh yeah, we'll also need a few components for our path, right? We'll generate then we'll need a list page. And then we will use a service to provide the data. All right.
Sorry, Jenny. Sorry to interrupt. Could you make your font bigger? Yeah. That's nicer. Thank you.
We'll ignore the service for now. Just focus on how to configure the map. So first one, we want it to go to the home component. Right. But because it's a root path, it will clash with all the other paths, right? We want it to only render home component if the path is empty. So for that, we need this so that it will match exactly to the root path. And then we want So this is basically how you do it. Just one more part, or one part, and then we'll do a redirect to home page. Right. Yeah. So that's it for configuring the route. Next, we will look at how to activate these routes, how to link them to these routes. Right. Um, so we'll use a directive called the router link. So it's like an attribute basically that you put into your edtech, your anchor tag, and then you define the path that it will go to. So in regular HTML, we'll use href and then equals the path. In Angular, you have to use router link. So router link will tell Angular that this is an internal route, and then it won't do a page refresh basically. If you use a regular href, it will basically clear your application state because your browser has reloaded. So you want to use the router link. And then we want to, if you want to indicate which link is active by having a class append to it, you use router link active, and then you pass in the class that you want it to render append basically. Yeah, and this is how we'll look at. And yeah, so if you want to route it using code instead of the template, we use the router package that comes with Angular, and then we inject the router package as a dependency into your component, and then you use the navigate function or the navigate by URL function from the router package. In most cases, we'll use the navigate because it's the more flexible function. And for navigate function, you have to pass in an array of string that will append into a path. You will treat it as one path basically. And then you can also pass in the extras such as whether this path is relative to any other path or any other route, or the parameters or the query parameters or the fragments that you want to pass in. That's in the second argument. The first argument will be the array with the paths. Okay. So for example, you'll see this a button click, and then it will call the navigate to page function. And then in the function, you will do the navigate. That's it. All right. So you have the trigger to bring your user to the page, but if you want to render the component that the user wants to see, you have to use this router outlet directive. You place it in the HTML template as a child to your component to mark where the view will render. This works with any Angular module that has the router module imported. So let's say you have a submodule or sub-submodule. You want to do local routing, you have to you define the routes again, and then you have to put this router outlet in the HTML for the component to render. Actually, it's a quite common mistake. People often forget to use the router outlet, like me. So this is where you place how you do it. It's basically just HTML router outlet, right? So there's also the children routes that routes to the sub-hub. For example, the most common one you can see is like /blog, and then /blog, the article title. So for example, this is it, right? So in this case, /item list will render the item list component, and /item list the item ID, it will render the item details component. So this column ID indicates that this is a variable. Okay. right. So with this variable ID, right, you want to know how to pass the variable into the URL. You can again do it with the same functions like author link, run, and author.navigate. And then there's also other ways to pass dynamic data, which is query params and fragments. Which one to use, you'll have to decide it. Depends on the use case. So for example, if you want to use the router link to pass the ID, so you can pass it as an array. The first one will be the slash items and then slash ID. So you pass it as the second item. Or you can also pass it as a template string, template literal, that pass in the item ID. And this is how you do the function. Okay. So I will
Sorry, Jenny.
go to the demo.
Yeah, could you speak louder? I think there's some background noise.
Oh,
Interrupt your the way the voice, your voice, so we cannot hear you clearly.
okay. I'll speak louder. So we'll
Thank you.
configure this as a children route, right? The details as a children route. And but we are not going to use the then so slash user slash ID will bring you to the user details component, and then slash user will bring you to this component. Okay. And then we want to now we set up the HTML. So instead of the HTML, the home page. All right. So this will, and then going from that, we have nothing. So this will be the navigation, and then we want one folder of the outlet to tell the Angular where to run the our component. So once it matches the path, it will render the component in the outlet. The outlet. Okay, and then we will need to create so this is the data. And then we import the service. Alright, so we want to look at this the link to each user. Okay. And the user details, we want to find the user from the list. Then we do this, and software package. Package. Okay. And then for this, we will use observable because the activated route format is an observable. So we'll read the route and then what's the param that is written. We'll get the users from the service again, the full list of service users, and then we'll find using the params. That is passed in. Okay. And then all right, so I think we'll stop it. They'll ask how many things. And then we will look the user date user. It's one the observable content, so we type it using the async type. I think we'll stop this. So we have set up the additional account for yeah, so we have the home component HTML set up, we have the details set up, we have the list set up. Okay. Then maybe we can also set CSS. Oh yeah. So we might want to indicate which is the active route, right? Um, we do the routing, and then if it matches the path, it will append the active class. But similar to the path match code, path match equals code, you need to do something like this so that it doesn't match with other routes. Because it's an empty route, it will match with, let's say it will clash with this. So you don't want it to clash, you have to use this option. Okay. And then let's see. Just do this. CSS website. All right. We can start running our app just to see what it looks like. We have an error. Yeah. So you can see this. Okay. So you can see home page. You can see the user list. But when I click here, there's nothing. You don't see the user details. That's because we didn't use the market outlet. And so you can see that's why I say the common mistake. So we want so you can see now the routes are working. Right? You can go to home, you can go to users, you can go to user details. Yeah. So as for the demo, we can continue on with the next slide. Okay, next we'll talk about how to protect our routes. So if you need to set up a website with authorization access, you need to set up your guards. Yeah. So this is one example on how to do that. You import the guard, right? Then you put it into the can activate property. So once it matches this path, it will check if it can activate or not through the guard's logic, right? So in this guard, we'll check whether the user is an admin. If it's admin, then we return the true, and then if it's not, then we return false. So that's basically it for the guard. You can have your own more complex logic in the future that you have. So I'll do a demo for the guard. Guard. So we'll do the same thing, we check for the admin. In the admin guard, enable this. Okay. We'll check the local storage. For the row value, it is equal to admin. Okay. So this is all our guard. It will only do this. Check whether there's a row item in the local storage and whether it's equal to admin. If it is, then it will activate the component. If it's not, then it will reject the user. Then over here, so yeah, it will guard the user part, and then we can out to see if it works. So now when I click the user, it won't trigger. It will only bring me to home. Okay. So we'll build another function that sets us as admin. I think for demo purpose, I will do it for. I will also do it and then we want to know whether the user is not. We need the router package to redirect the user. So let's say if the user is not in as admin role, we automatically redirect into the user page. And then we log out, we want to direct them to the home page. So they don't have access to the user page again. Okay. And then we'll check if the user is logged in. If it is not logged in, then we want to show log in. If it's not logged in, we want to log out. If it's not, we want to log in. All right. So access to the users here. Let me see. We can't go to the user. We will log in as the login is something. Alright. Once you log in, it's automatically redirecting us to the user page. And then we can take all this. And then when we log out, we go back to home and we can go back in. Okay. So that's how that works. I think that's it for my presentation. So these are the resources if you want to learn more about Angular navigating and software. Yeah.
Yeah. Jenny, we have a question here. She's asking, is there an ng else instead of using to ng if block?
Yeah, there is. All right. So, but this is not really relating to nothing. But you can do like this. You need to set up the independent first. Okay. And then let's say so this is the logout template. Okay, this is the logout template. And then you do if it's not logged in, it will but you need to do this. And then so we will check if it's if you're not logged in, it will render this part. If else, it will render logout. Okay. So this. Oh. Okay. Okay. I'm not sure why, but this is how you do it. If you want the else template. Okay. That answers your question. So there's a issue with this. Okay. Okay, is the no. Okay, I'm not sure why it doesn't work, but the else template works. So that's how you do else template, if else. Any
Yeah,
other
thank you.
question?
Yeah, any other question? I think, mm, yep. Any other question from all of you? If no, then yeah, thank you, Jenny, for this sharing. Yeah, it is slightly earlier today. If you have a question, you can post it here or you can unmute yourself to ask the question directly to this expert. And yeah, um, there's a participant asked whether can this code be hosted in GitHub as well so that we can access to this code.
I've already set up the Git repo. If you want it, you can just go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So later on, you just upload the slide to the WhatsApp group, then they all can access to it.
Yeah.
Right. Since there's no other question, yeah, I think we shall call off. Now, thank you for your participating. Yeah, and see you again tomorrow. Bye.
All right. Bye.